Hey, everybody. We are live. How's it going, Moya?
It's going all right, Kim. What's up, CO?
All right. Your audio is a little low. I don't know if you could kick it up a notch, but
All right, who? Mines or CO's?
yours. CEO hasn't said anything yet. All right. Well, you adjust that. This is what we will do. We are back, formerly known ETM Media, which stands for Emend the Mass Media. I know everybody's more familiar with amend with an A, but the emend means the same thing. We're here to change the game in the mass media world and get this conscious information out to the public here. We'll start with a few updates from California. Let's see. No, I cannot hear UCO, and I can't hear you, Yamoya, if you're talking. And for some
All right,
activating, I don't know if
Kim. I don't
you
know
do
if you
that on your end, Yamoya.
can you still hear me? Yeah, you're totally breaking up. Like, I think your feed is like going in and out like really bad. What's up, John? In the building.
Oh, okay. So it's me. All right.
Yeah. So your feed is really going in and out.
Can you hear me
Um.
better now?
Yeah, you can, but you're still going in and out. So maybe we could.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me get
Okay.
that
I can hear you,
adjusted. In the
CO.
meantime, can you throw the Gavin Newsom video?
All right. We could do that. Well, I guess my question is, can y'all hear me?
Concerns and conversations about how dark his skin might be when he's born.
What?
And
Who is having?
Since this pandemic started, uncertainty, well, it's been probably the only thing that we can be certain of. But now we're providing a little bit more certainty that we're safely vaccinating Californians as quickly as possible, certainty that we're safely reopening our economy, and certainty that we're safely getting our kids back into the classroom, all of which adds up to a much brighter future for our state. Because California, we're not going to come crawling back. We will roar back. When this pandemic ends, and it will end soon, we're not going to go back to normal. Because I think we all agree, normal was never good enough. Normal accepts inequity. That's why Latinos are dying from COVID at a higher rate than any other racial or ethnic group. And while essential workers' wages aren't enough for them to afford the essentials. And why mothers have been leaving the workforce in staggering numbers. Look, our eyes are wide open to what's wrong. And so our journey back must also be a path to close those inequities. There is no economic recovery without economic justice. With more compassion, more empathy, more connection, we can write the next chapter in California's story. After all, the answer to what's right about our state is also readily available to us, so long as we stay focused on what makes California just so damn special. Throughout this pandemic, we've been forced to find new ways to connect, new ways to collaborate, and new ways to serve. as well as new ways to grow and new ways to innovate. And of course, we have more scientists, more engineers, more researchers, more Nobel laureates in California than any other state. And to keep this conveyor belt for talent moving, we're going to keep investing in our UCs, our CSUs, and our community colleges. California is the most innovation, venture capital, and small business investment in the country. And so we're going to keep investing and fostering in every small entrepreneur, the drivers of our GDP, our agricultural industry. It feeds the nation. And California's entertainment industry, well, it shapes global culture. We build the future the rest of the world only dreams of. And I mean that, by the way, quite literally. Just think about this. This year, we're going to invest over $10 billion in the nuts and bolts of California. Infrastructure like roads and rail and bridges and public transit. The biggest infrastructure package, by the way, since the Great Recession over a decade ago. Building towards universal broadband, connecting all Californians equitably and affordably, and investing in our most important asset, our children. You know, we propose in this year's budget to invest a record amount in K through 14 education this year, because by planning ahead and through prudent fiscal management,
Right.
Well,
So
there
it
you,
sounds like I do I have a stronger connection now?
yeah, you sound cool. It's
Okay,
better.
good. All right, good. So it sounds like he has a lot of equity built into his plan. So, hopefully that means equity in reparations. Um, yeah. Let's see
Hmm.
what else do we have
Yeah, we'll
going
see about that one.
on. We shall see. So they're saying that the Newsom State of the State address felt like it was a campaign kickoff to sink the recall effort. We know that that's coming up. They did gather enough signatures to get that to go to election. So it looks like that will be on the ballot. What are your thoughts on that? They're saying that it's the way that he handled the COVID response is the reason why people are up in arms. But I can't help but wonder, is it maybe because he signed off on the reparations bill for California?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point of view. I know I've read somewhere that some of the detractors or his adversaries have been a certain group out of Orange County that I read somewhere. Um, I don't want to call them Republicans, but I'll just call them conservatives, supposedly. Um, I mean, that's what I've read, but supposedly there's been enough signatures on the ballot to actually go forth with the recall. So, you know, we'll see, what happens.
We'll see what happens from there. All right. And in other California news, what's going on? Looks like Miss Stacy Dash. We remember her from Clueless. Wants to get an invite back to the barbecue after um, she's been, a heavy Trump supporter and, really conservative. So let's see what she has to say. Stacey Dash is very sorry for supporting former President Donald Trump. She says joining a number of Trump supporters who recently denounced the former president following the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. The former Clueless actress turned Republican talking head made a public apology during an interview with Daily Mail TV on Wednesday, during which she said that she had lived her life being angry, but that's not who Stacey is now. In the interview, Dash explained that her opinions were arrogant and prideful and angry, adding that she is no longer that person. Instead, Stacey's someone who has compassion and empathy, she declared, talking about herself in the third person. Dash also said that she felt she played a role as Fox at Fox News as the angry conservative black woman until she realized that anger is unsustainable and will destroy you.
Yep. Peace out to Stacey Dash.
So is she invited to the barbecue?
Nah.
No, you guys are revoking her
Nah.
card, revoking her card.
I think it's interesting that she's currently leaning on the idea of anger being the seed of what motivated her to support Trump in his neo-Nazi statements. She supported that rally, and that happened in Virginia with the tiki torches. She supported the notion that Mexicans were all drug dealers and folks who needed to be locked up, like drug traffickers and such, rapists and criminals. Like I don't understand how anger leads you to that point. So I would ask more questions like exactly were you angry about, and how did your anger lead you to these notions of these Mexicans crossing the borders? How did it lead you to the notion that these folks who are clearly neo-Nazis being their behavior being okay? How did your anger lead you to supporting an individual like Trump, who is a clear and blatant racist, who's a clear and blatant sexist, who is in a narcissist and for himself and not for the black people? How does your anger lead you there? I don't know. Not to say that it can't, but I literally don't know. And so to use that as an excuse to be like, oh, all right, yeah, that was before. That was the old me, but now I'm good now. So like pass me a plate. Nah. I'm gonna need some more. I'm gonna need more than that.
Those are very good questions. Like, in fact, what was she angry about? You know, what was she angry about that led her to be a ardent Trump supporter? Because she was all out there. Let's hear her say it in her own words.
I've lived my life being angry. You know, which was what I was on Fox News. You know, I was the angry, conservative black woman. And at that time in my life, it was who I was. And I realized in 2016 that anger is unsustainable. And it will destroy you. And, you know, what people don't know is that I made a lot of mistakes. And because of that anger. Being a supporter of Trump, you know, has put me in some kind of box that I do not belong in. I don't hate anyone. I don't, you know, I don't know where that comes from. And, well, he's not the president. So I'm going to give the president that we have right now a chance.
Sounds like she doesn't even know where her anger was coming from. So yeah, that's pretty sus. But word on the street is that she's having difficulty in the Hollywood circles with the Hollywood liberals. She's not able to find work, and she's feeling shut out. So she's coming back to reclaim her card, but.
Well, if I could just interject, she has found Jesus now. So maybe maybe Jesus can help her this time. You know what I mean? So who knows?
I'm curious. That video that you played, she mentioned 2016, but that neo-Nazi rally happened in 2017. So I don't know. I like to give space for everyone to move and to evolve in life. So just because you were at one point today does not mean you need to stay there. But like I said, I'm gonna need a little more than this. This feels very, very much like a really mediocre, lukewarm PR move. That's what it feels like.
That's what it feels like to me. Okay. And in other racist news, we have Sharon Osbourne coming out of Studio City and The Talk. If anybody even watches that show, Sharon Osbourne apologizes for contentious racism debate with Cheryl Underwood, says that she's still learning. A heated debate about racism, Piers Morgan, and the royal family on Wednesday's The Talk has prompted co-host Sharon Osbourne to apologize for her part in this discussion. In a tweet on Friday, Osborne addressed the uncomfortable conversation she had with her co host, particularly Cheryl Underwood, as they discussed whether British TV personality Piers Morgan had made racist comments about Meghan Markle. Osborne, seemingly concerned that she was being deemed racist herself for defending Morgan, repeatedly spoke over Underwood during the conversation, prompting criticism on social media about Osborne's behavior. After some reflection, after sitting with your comments and sitting with my heart, I would like to address the discussion on the talk this past Wednesday. Osborne began in her follow up post, I have always been embraced with so much love and support for the Black community, and I have deep respect and love for the Black community. To anyone of color that I offended, and to anyone that feels confused or let down by what I said, I am truly sorry. Osborne added that she felt panicked and blindsided at the notion of being called a racist. Thus, she got defensive and allowed Osborne to take over. She said, there are very few things that hurt my heart more than racism. So I feel associated with that spun on me fast. I am not perfect. I'm still learning like the rest of us, and I will continue to learn, listen, and do better. All right. I don't know if anybody saw that clip. We didn't pull it up for this show here. All you have to do is go to Osborne Racist and it'll come up right for you. I did
Osborne
have a
racist.
chance to look at I did have a chance to look at it, and to me it was like methinks the lady doth protest too much.
Yeah, I felt like it was that conversation, and I will preface this by saying I didn't watch the entire like section because I don't watch that show. I just saw the clips on Instagram. I do feel like it was a good example of white fragility and about how and trying to have a conversation with white individuals because there Osborne was on the show, and her friend, I'm blanking on her name right now, but the Black woman who was discussing with her, they're friends. So the two of them were having a conversation, that had a little bit more intimacy because of their relationship, but it was about, Osborne and her defending a racist. Um, and what came up, the way the conversation unfolded, and then specifically Sharon Osbourne's response to people speaking against the racist comments and speaking it against her supporting that individual in those comments. It was literally textbook white fragility. Immediately gets defensive, immediately starts like getting upset, like everything you're saying is wrong, like just pushing up, like putting up that wall and not listening. And it's that the idea of being called a racist is more detrimental than actually dealing with the fact that you are a racist, right? And if you watch it or the clips, you will see it one for one. Like it is literally white fragility in its purest form.
Yeah, I think we also have to think about was I can't even remember the dude's name that she was trying to defend, but he was going in all in Meghan Markle. Was
Here's
he
Morgan.
Piers
Mhm.
Morgan? Yeah, okay, good for him. Um, I'm trying to figure out, was he going in on anybody else, of the royal family, prior to that? Why is he specifically targeting Meghan Markle? And maybe he did go in, and maybe, Sharon Osbourne has a point in defending, uh, him, but it doesn't sound like it. So, I don't know. It'd be
No,
Did
interesting.
you see the Pierce Morgan exchange at all, Theo?
where he stormed off the set, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw clips of that. And
So was
read
that also
the
white fidelity?
that yeah, he got cornered essentially because someone like cornered him and was like, it's interesting that you keep going hard on Megan. And his argument was like, oh, I'm just anti like nobility, right? So I'm going against Megan because she's a noble, right? And she's complaining about her life and how hard it is, but at the end of the day, you're a noble. Like, stop complaining. You have everything taken care of. Like, it was more. So, that's what part of his argument was. But other people were pushing back against him, being like, "No, you're going hard on Megan, and the stuff that you're saying is specific to her and specific to her race. It has nothing to do with the fact that she married into this royal family." And you're butthurt because Megan and him used to be connected. And after a while, Megan stopped the relationship or deaded the relationship with Pierce Morgan, and he was still butthurt about it. And so individuals are pushing back and saying, hey, you're not attacking her for what she's saying. You're not attacking her stance, but you're attacking her specifically. And that's a problem. And he got all pissy and stormed off set and then came back after like a commercial break or something. But yes, I agree that it's part of that whole white fragility where they can't face what it is to be racist in 2020, because in their heads, to be a racist, you must be throwing the N-word around. You must be burning crosses in people's lawns or, beating folks, but they don't fully comprehend the full extent of racism and their part in it. And so they just get offended.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's a conversation for a whole nother show. I mean, what do white people need to do to get over this white fragility? Like I said, that's a topic for another show. In the meantime, let's listen to what Megan herself, what started all this discussion about the royal family and race.
Concerns and conversations about how dark his skin might be when he's born.
What?
And
Who is having that conversation with you? What?
so,
There is a conversation. Hold up.
there's
Stop
several
right now.
there's several conversations
There's a
about
conversation with you
it with Harry.
about how dark your baby is going to be?
Potentially, and what that would mean or look like.
Ooh. And you're not going to tell me who had the conversation?
I think that would be very damaging to them.
Dang, come on, sis. Let the cat out the bag.
Right. So she's still protecting, the white people. Even though she comes on the show to tell her truth, but at the end of the day, she really didn't want to out anybody. Still protecting them. And you know what? I had conversations when she was pregnant about how dark the baby was going to be. I mean, is that a normal conversation? Or I was like wanting to see what the baby, what the ears like.
That's hilarious.
So, I mean, people are saying that she knew what she was getting into. Not a lot of sympathy for her, or just like Stacey Dash, not a lot of sympathy when you go over to the white side and it doesn't turn out right. How can we, have sympathy for that? And Megan didn't just marry a white man; she married into a racist institution. So she probably should have seen this coming. Or anyone want to chime in on that?
Not
Really, nothing.
really. I mean, it's
Elena's
evident.
like, nah.
I
Um,
mean, it's self-evident, you know. I mean, the British, I mean, they were the first ones pretty much coming out of Europe. I mean, it was a close, probably tie with, the Dutch, but, Britain, they had all their hand up in the, slavery and enslavement, of black people, coming out of Africa. They fully supported the slave movement. Um, the trilateral, uh, you know, slavery system. So, hey, it is what it is. You know what you're getting into, and you know that's it. I know some people want to have denial sometime about racism, especially when their loved ones are part of the system, that perpetuates that. Um, so I don't know. There's nothing really I could say about it, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. So yeah, they got away from that. I hear that she's pregnant with her second child, which is supposed to be a girl. So I wonder how dark she's gonna be. All right, and on to the meat of our subject matter today: reparations. Today, reparations. Tomorrow, reparations forever. And it looks like on March 1st, 2021, just earlier this month, Biden's senior advisor says White House will start acting on reparations now. The White House is going to start acting now to address reparations for African Americans, a White House senior advisor said in a new interview as Congress debates forming a commission to study how the policy would be implemented. Speaking to Access on HBO in an interview set to air Monday, White House senior advisor Cedric Richmond discussed efforts targeted helping minority communities. There's that word, minorities. While the administration may back the study, Richmond added that they were not waiting on Congress. We don't want to wait on a study. We're going to start acting now, he told the outlet. In early February, the White House said Biden is open to naming a group to study the issue. He certainly would support a study of reparations, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said at a briefing in early February. He understands we don't need a study to take action now on systemic racism, so he wants to take actions within his own government in the meantime. Asked about the potential panel, Richard said, I think that the creation of a commission will pass. So today is his 56th day in office. He's probably signed that many executive orders, but none of them for reparations. So acting now, what does that mean? I mean, acting now, right now? I'm still holding out for the first 100 days. Like I said, we're at 56 days right now. Um, are you guys hopeful? Are you guys excited, rejuvenated?
Yeah, not really. Nah, it's smoke and mirrors again. Like, I mean, supposedly, he's or one of his staff members is still supposed to have. Shout out to Ice Cube. Is supposed to be speaking to Ice Cube, about some repair. But unless they come through with some legislation, fully talking about reparations, specifically for U.S. Chattel enslaved people here in what now known as the United States of America, then it's all hogwash, And as the article mentioned, I mean, when you start throwing in minorities, in the fold, then that can mean anything, Um, little people, what I'm saying? It could mean dinosaur, tree huggers. I mean, who are we talking about here? So, we need specifics. I'm saying,
um, I would say, yeah.
Statement, isn't it up to us to hold them accountable?
I'm sorry, Kim, you went out a little bit. You mind repeating that?
CEO, you were saying something? Oh, I said now that they've made this statement, that the statement has come out of the White House, isn't it up to us to hold them accountable to those statements?
Indeed. I mean, look, I don't trust Biden, and I don't trust him because of his history in politics, which is extremely anti-Black. From the crime bill to his voting to his like gung ho for cops. You know, even during this era, like I don't trust Biden when it comes to us, despite the fact that Biden is in office because of the overwhelming turnout of Black folks in the South, particularly for him. As Kim pointed out, we're 50 something days in, and there has not been one executive order. There has not been one real initiative that is for us and specific to us. So, to your point, when we start talking about minorities, like reparations in the way that we are defining it is not for just minorities, it's not for women specifically, is not for individuals who are not descendants of chattel slavery, unless you were female. Then of course that covers. But it's not for any other quote unquote minority group. So the moment his team is throwing that in, I feel it's problematic. I feel it's like bait and switch. I feel like the fact that literally he got into office on the backs of Blacks, but have not put out one piece of legislation that is specifically for us makes no sense to me, particularly when he's pumping out items that are specifically for undocumented individuals. So people who are not citizens of this country are getting legislation and are getting money ahead of folks who have been citizens here, who are paying taxes, who are living, who have died and helped, build this economy, who have put in. He's taking care of folks who aren't homegrown prior to, and that is problematic.
It's disrespectful. Yeah, it's problematic and it's disrespectful. It's just really disrespectful. So we'll see. And you forgot to mention that he regularly uses the N word, which I hear that he's done that since his time in the office, in the president's
I didn't know
office
that.
here.
I was unaware of that.
Yeah, I mean, I
that's
saw
the
some
first.
clips on Twitter. I mean, I don't know if they could have been doctored or whatever, but they said that he dropped the N bomb with a hard R. So, yeah, old
You don't
habits
get to
die
say
hard.
with a soft A or a hard R. Like, it don't matter.
It don't even make a difference. Well, reparations is in the news quite a bit. So some encouraging news coming out of LA County may return Bruce Beach to Black family that owned it nearly a century ago. Los Angeles County Supervisor Janice Hahn announced in a statement the county plans on repurposing Bruce Beach and giving the land to the descendants of the original owners. The property that was once the Bruce's is now owned by the county. And I want LA County to be part of righting this wrong, Janice Hahn, LA County Supervisor, said, according to NBC LA. I am looking at everything from repurposing the property in a way that tells the history of Bruce Beach to actually giving the property back to the descendants of Charles and Willa Bruce.
Well, that's a step in the right direction.
So when I see it's a step in the right direction, but when I see the word repurpose, what does that mean? What exactly does that mean? I mean, it's supposedly valued at $78 million. And it should go back to the descendants. But is that reparations?
No. Plain and simple, no, that is not reparations. That is a returning of property. right? So if it is currently valued at 78 mil, you said, um, reparations would be not only the returning of their land, but also the like funding or like the repayment of the money lost over time, the generational loss, right? So it's not just giving it back, because over this time that it was taken from these Black folks, the city or the private individuals have made money off of that. It took away the opportunity for those Black folks and their descendants to make money, either to sell it, to put up a lemonade stand, to do whatever the crap they wanted with it, right? So just to return it is not enough. That's not reparations at all.
Okay, so that's not reparations. Let's see if what's going on in Chicago is reparations.
All right, you want me to take it, Kim?
Chicago aldermen begin debates on reparations. Can you not
All
hear
right.
me?
Okay, yeah, you back, I think. Yeah, you're good
I'm
now.
back. I'm back. I'm back. All right. All right. I don't know what's going on with my internet. Chicago aldermen considered ways to provide reparations for descendants of slave Thursday in the first meeting of a special city council subcommittee on the issue. The subcommittee on reparations within the city is tasked in part with examining the state of equity in the city of Chicago, according to the resolution that it created. The first meeting was mainly a chance for the group to get organized and hear from experts on the issue providing reparations to slaves. Evanston, Evanston aide Robin Sue Simmons said that Simmons talked about the important process of making sure there's adequate community input in the plan from Black Chicagoans. Evanston opted to use sales tax revenue from marijuana sales to set up housing reparations programs there. And the continuation of what they plan on providing. Evanston is paying reparations of 25,000 to Black residents. They say it's not enough. Evanston, Illinois could soon become the first American city to provide reparations to some Black residents, making amends for the city's past discriminatory housing policies. The Chicago Suburbs Reparation Program was established in 2019 with a $10 million fund established from a 3% tax on recreational marijuana sales. The program's focus is on addressing housing inequity, with first phase that allocates 400,000 of the budget to provide 25,000 grants to eligible recipients to help with home ownership, mortgage assistance, and home improvement.
Hmm. Yeah, did it? Is that the one? Because there's so many like reparations.
Is that reparations?
Yeah, so-called reparations. Um, you know, false flags out there. Was this the same one? I don't know if Kim, if we can go back to the article, because my mind gets lost when there's so much. Is this the one where you actually had to live in Evanston?
Let's see. I did not finish it. Let's finish it out. She said the enduring racial divide that remains in Evanston, despite years of various equity initiatives, prompted her to pursue reparations. I thought that we as a city might localize a reparative policy to empower the Black community and help rebuild wealth that had been stripped away due to predatory practices and other anti Black practices, she said. Robin Ruth Simmons, the Fifth Ward alderman who spearheaded Evanston's reparations program, told Newsweek she is proud of the city for advancing the initiative. Okay, here we go. To qualify for Evanston's reparations program, Black residents must have either lived in Evanston between 1919 and in 1969 and suffered from housing discrimination or be a direct descendant of someone who did.
Okay. So then it looks like, yeah, that is. So you have to be um basically a
You
resident
have to
or
be
a
a
descendant.
descendant of a slave that lived in that particular city.
At that
So
particular
that's a
time. Okay.
very narrow,
Mhm.
um, criteria for
Yep.
reparations. Um, so a lot of the other Black residents in Evanston, of course, don't think they don't care, and gesture probably not going to get you very far in any housing market. Um, so, what do you guys think? Is that reparations? We got to check that one off the list. Cross that one off the list. The reparations list.
I would say that it
Okay.
is.
Let's see North Carolina, what the package looks like.
All right. Kim, you want me to take it or?
You boy, I'm gonna let you go through. Yeah, I do because my internet is acting wonky.
All right, I'll go ahead and take this one. All right, so you want to, let's see, put
Okay,
it back up.
if I can. Can you hear me at all? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can still hear you.
Okay.
All right. Okay, I'll
Okay, I'll
go ahead
let
and
you
take.
take this one, Yamoya.
All right, cool. North Carolina City approves reparations for Black residents. The measure passed by the City Council of Asheville, North Carolina, would provide funding to promote home ownership and business opportunities, but stopped short of stipulating direct payments. No direct payments? Question mark. All right, so let's see if we can get into this a little further. As Americans debate how far the country should go to make amends for slavery and other racial injustices, a conversation reawakened by the killing of George Floyd, a city in North Carolina, has taken the first step. It approved "quote unquote" reparations for Black residents. The city, Asheville, North Carolina, will provide funding to programs geared toward increasing home ownership and business and career opportunities for Black residents as part of a reparations initiative. The measure was unanimously approved by the Asheville City Council on Tuesday night, but is stopped short of stipulating direct payments, which are usually associated with reparations. City leaders said their goal was to help create generational wealth for Black people who have been hurt by income, educational, and healthcare disparities. The city, which is in western North Carolina and has about 93,000 residents, also apologized for its participation in and sanctioning of slavery, as well as other historical injustices perpetuated or perpetrated against Black people, who make up about 12% of the city's population. So there you go. Is that reparations?
That didn't sound like reparations to me.
Uh, what do you think, Sia?
No, it's a lot of these programs don't seem like enough, to be honest. They seem like um, just just general programs that are necessary and are needed to support your citizens, not necessarily reparations for um, issues that have occurred in the past, disparities that have occurred in the past. So no, like, and some of this stuff is like it's getting close. It's kind of like touching it, but not quite going all the way there. Um, Reparations is going to take generations to repay. It is going to take not only cash funds that are directly injected into people's bank accounts or put on a card or something like that, but it's also going to take it needs to take effect in education. It needs to take effect in the housing market, healthcare. Like there's so many different different areas that racism has had an effect on throughout the decades, throughout the centuries. So no, it's not enough. It's a step, but it's not enough.
Okay, it's a step, step in the name of reparations. Okay, let's see if
All right, Kim, you're breaking up a little bit, so I guess I'll.
they have a plan out in Oregon.
All right, Kim, you want me to take this one?
Yes.
All right, I'll take this one. Whew, Oregon. Democrats introduced legislation that would pay Black residents $123,000 in slavery reparations. Democrats in Oregon have introduced legislation that would see $123,000 given in reparations to Black people residing in the state over the span of their lives. According to the bill, the money will be paid to anyone who can demonstrate that they are a descendant of slaves and are identified as African American on legal documentation. The bill states that the State Department of Revenue is to establish a reparations payment program for African Americans who can demonstrate heritage in slavery, quote unquote, and provide legal documentation that identifies themselves once again as African American for at least 10 years. Those eligible for the reparations must reside in the state for a minimum of 2 years. The payment would be an annual, and recipients would be set to receive $123,000 over the course, plus interest on top of it, which is good. Republicans in Oregon estimate that the state could spend as much as $11.8 trillion in total reparations payments. Not only would this cause an increase in taxes, but the legislation is also likely to cause an influx of people moving into the state in hopes of getting a second round of reparations, further burdening Oregonians' taxpayers. The Biden administration has indicated that it intends to start acting on potential reparations for all Black Americans. Yes, this is the same state of the sundown towns. They were notorious for sundown towns. So yes, they should definitely be part of this so-called reparations. So I guess the question is this reparations? I mean, they're giving payouts, right? But is that enough?
I would say 120K over the span of your lifetime is not at all enough. It is not at all enough. If you're a descendant from slavery, your forefathers provided more than 120K in free labor.
I
Right? I'm sorry, Kim, I couldn't hear that. So I do feel like, again, that like these places are like trying, they're getting close, but they're not quite there. The number is too low. I do appreciate the fact that it's open to anyone who lives there for 2 years and not just, hey, you had to be specifically in this state during this time or such. Um, but the number is way too low. It's not significant enough. And I do think that it is set up in a way that would, um, I don't know, could be pushed back on, right? Because if there's an influx of Black individuals, descendants of slaves, moving there just to get that 128K, I guarantee you, fellow or Oregon, I don't know what they call themselves, but in the residents of that location are gonna start pushing back more heavily.
Yep. Well, let's see. I'm gonna post here. Kim, do you want to post the reactions to the article, and we'll go through some of them?
if I can you guys hear me? My
Yeah, we can. Yeah, you sound clear now.
okay. All right, I'm gonna jump off for a second. Yamoya, so could you take this one too, brother?
I'll take it. Let's do it. So let's see what people have reacted to. I'm not going to say their names, but you could see it on the screen if you guys so choose to. So one person responded, said, Democrats are the racist. They sure have the
Mm.
nerve to demand reparations when their ancestors were forming the KKK. I can't necessarily disagree with that.
I don't disagree with that. They are racist. They're still racist. That don't mean they don't shouldn't be calling for reparations.
The Dixiecrats. So I can't necessarily, disagree with that one. If this is a black and white issue, how about all of the white people that died in the Civil War to free the slaves asking for a friend?
What?
I don't get that, but okay. Yes. We'll go to the next one. All right, this one's pretty long, so if please bear with us, but I think it's definitely important to kind of go through these reactions of people and their interpretations of how they feel about reparations being paid to people who've been enslaved and built this country. Being a man from Africa, I know the true story of black slavery. There were two methods of obtaining slaves from Africa. Muslims would provide guns to a tribal member to usurp the chief on conditions that slaves were provided from the tribe. So basically, blacks sold their own people for guns. The second method was selling slaves to the Portuguese slave traders for merchandise they had to offer. What happened is the Portuguese slave traders would load ships with the merchandise and pull into both Angola and Mozambique harbors and offload the merchandise into ox wagons and then follow trades to depots where blacks were being held for sale for the merchandise. I think I might skip a little bit down here. It says the number one preference with regards to the merchandise that was offered was clothing. Blacks love clothes. You have seen blacks in the country buy a $400 pair of shoes when they haven't got a pot to piss in. Once again, we see that unlike the other races who made slaves out of the conquered, blacks were quite happy to sell their relatives in slavery, mainly for clothes and other farming instruments. The reason we have absurd legislation in the pipeline like this one is that blacks love to scream racism while they are the biggest racists on earth. And by playing the race card, it gamers or garners them more privilege. And today, Black Americans are the most privileged human beings on earth. And then they have the gall to talk about white privilege. Well, there you go. Are you back, Kim?
I think so. Comcast is about to owe me some reparations for my for my internet connection. I'm over here struggle connection tonight. All right, no, but I am back, and that did not sound like an ally from Africa, and yeah, so
Yeah, he happens
they're
to know a lot
mad.
about.
They're even mad at the minuscule because that response was a response to the Oregon 123K over a lifetime in reparations, and they're mad about that. So if they're mad about something as minuscule as that, then I don't know what to tell them because reparations is a debt that's owed and needs to be paid. All right, let's take a look at what reparations what reparations is for real. For real, for real here. Black reparations and the racial wealth gap. William Sandy Darity and Kristen Mullen. The origins of this gulf in black and white wealth stem from the immediate formerly enslaved with 40 acres in land grants went unmet. While many white Americans were provided substantial handouts, typically 160 acres of land in the West, Neil Kashkari, president of Federal Reserve Bank of Minnesota, calls this free equity that could be transmitted into greater economic security and prospects for wealth accumulation and subsequent generations. Therefore, as we argue in From Here to Eternity, erasure of the racial wealth disparity must be a core objective of reparations for Black American descendants of U.S. slavery. We estimate at minimum this will require 10 to 12 trillion in federal expenditures. Attaining long denied full citizenship has a critical material dimension. That dimension will be achieved by closing the immense gap in Black and white wealth.
Yeah, family. If everyone has a chance to read From Here to Equality, highly recommended. I'm actually halfway through the book, and it's a great read. You know, it's definitely a great read. I'm currently on the point where uh, Dr. Darity mentions about some of the Irish immigrants coming into the country, and unfortunately, at that particular time, I think it was a little bit before the Civil War was happening, and so they were trying to recruit um, people at that time to go into the war. And at the same time, you know, blacks were quote unquote coming out of slavery, and at that time, not only were those immigrants who were coming into specifically in the north that were coming into those areas of like places like New York, they pretty much were like upset that basically black people were going to get their freedom, and they were like, and on top of that, we don't want to fight for these elitists anyway. So not only did they throw mobs against quote unquote white people, they also threw mobs against black people. But definitely from here to equality, it actually goes specifics into what happened during that time. So yeah, Dr. Sandy Darity definitely has made some great points in terms of people who descend from U.S. chattel slavery, should be getting. It's a debt that's owed. And unfortunately, a lot of these articles that we looked over today have missed the target. But
Yeah,
it's a
and
step.
speaking of a must read with Here to Equality, did you either of you hear that the NAACP delivered a copy of the book From Here to Equality to every member in Congress? So I believe they said the number was 535. So each of them have a copy. As we know, you can lead a horse to water. You can't make them drink. So hopefully they will read the book and take it seriously. Maybe it will impact them, the way that it has impacted Yamoya here and others who have read it, including myself. Okay, let's see here. All right, American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 COVID relief. Anyone get the stymie yet? I know the answer for me is nah. Like my shirt says, nope, I haven't got my stymie yet. What about you guys?
I don't know, CO, you want to take it?
No, I definitely have not gotten a little stimmy. No, I have not. No.
You little is that's I haven't got. By the way, I haven't gotten mine either. I guess that's supposed to be, Biden's and his administration's before the 100-day is over. It's supposed to be our little incentive for reparations, right? I think that's what he's. No. Yeah, no, I haven't gotten it, so I don't know what's going. We're supposed to be getting it. You know what I mean? Uh, you know,
So they
hopefully.
started rolling out this week, right? Question mark.
Supposedly, yeah, it was supposed to be this
Yeah.
weekend. Some people were supposed to be getting, some payments. But I also heard on, I think it was like NPR, or some news report show that they're saying the IRS is really backed up right now. Anyway, so some of us may be getting it soon, but the IRS is really, really backed up. So, who knows? I'm sure we're all gonna go out and buy some Jordans, right? And some nice looking so fresh and so clean with that little payment, right? With that little stymie check.
So
My
it
thing
doesn't.
is, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just gonna say. So I mean, you guys are not acting like this is going to be transformative in your lives in any way. I mean, it's helps, but yeah.
Yeah, when you have next to nothing or you have nothing, absolutely it helps, But is it going to be like pivotal? Like, is it going to stop somebody from being homeless? Is it going to be able to take care of someone's kid for an extended period of time so that that individual can work? Is it going to be that gap between making it and not making it, survival and being homeless? Absolutely not. It's $1,400 in 2021. Like, that's $1,400 wouldn't even pay for a month of rent in LA.
Or
That
it's
wouldn't
not
take
in Sacramento.
in all of California, basically.
So that's not even covering people's bills for a month. It's not even giving them 1 month of relief. It is just helping out for 1 month, right? After, what was it? Folks got $600 a year ago, right? Like,
It was before the election because they promised 2,000, but then after the election it went to 1,400.
so over the course of a year, the total amount that has been given to individuals who don't have kids, because I believe there was extra given to them, but it's $2,000, and $2,000 in America isn't going to do squat for you. So it's ridiculous. It's actually laughable. We have given more money to corporations. We have given more money, like during that whole 2008, like too big to fail business. We pump more money into buildings and into rich folks' hands than we have to the actual people. Like, instead of giving all of the money and creating all of these programs so that people can keep folks at work, right, and keep the people working, had they given the money directly to the humans, it would have sufficed, right? It would have been enough to keep the people going, food, water, shelter. And on top of that, we still would have been buying our Jordans, right? We still would have been participating in capitalism to help the system keep moving. Because when you give money to the middle class and the lower class, we spend it. When you give money to the upper class, they hoard it away because they don't need it, right? And it's actually being taken out of like circulation. So instead of giving money to the corporations, they really need to be giving it directly to the people who need it. But one thing that I do want to point out, which I just learned, if you are homeless, if you are houseless, right? If you haven't paid taxes, you can still get access to the city, right? You just have to take a couple of steps in order to go do that, in order to make it happen. But I was, just like many other people, were quite distraught at the fact that they are going to give out this $1,400, but they weren't going to give it to the people who really needed it the most. Because for me, $1,400 is like a debt, but to somebody who's living on the street, it's a whole different story.
Right, right. And hopefully they'll have the resources to even be able to do those extra steps. Everything's online nowadays, so if you don't have a computer or the technology to do those extra steps, then you're just really literally out in the cold if you're unhoused and don't have those resources. So hopefully they'll be able to get the help that they need. And even trying to conduct business over the phone with this COVID situation, nobody's picking up right now. And like you said, they're backlogged, and these calls take hours to get somebody on the
Hmm.
phone. So, yeah, it's just they're not making it easy for the people, especially the people who have the greatest need. And you're absolutely right about circulating funds back into the economy. They say that this racism, this systemic racism, and just it's costing America money. So it's like they would rather cost America money than do right by the descendants of chattel slavery and give us our reparations so we could help infuse the economy. Yeah, and I saw another article. Same thing with Hollywood, the way that they're devaluing um, black product and productions. It's costing them like $10 billion a year. So they'd rather lose money than pay black people what they're worth, which is ridiculous. So even though this talk of reparations, they don't quite have it right. A lot of them are just programs to uplift all and lift every boat and all of that. But at least the conversation is being had now. So I do find that that's encouraging. Um, that at least we're having this conversation. And there may be hope on the horizon. Let's take a look at this video for Gary Chambers out of Louisiana, Baton Rouge. He's running for Congress, and let's see what he has to say.
To redline their communities, deny them GI loans. America has done a number on black people. And as a result, there's a number that should be associated with payment to black citizens of this country. The truth is, reparations is justice. Reparations is fairness and equity. Reparations is also American. Because every time America has bombed another country or done harm to other nations, there's been a debt to pay for that. And there should be a debt paid to African Americans in this country. Because the capitalistic system that exists in this country was built on our backs. Because we worked cotton fields for free to ensure the profits of white men and women for centuries. You can't do wrong by people and allow us to be labeled in your Constitution as 3/5 a person and believe that you have no debt to pay for everything you've done. So it's ironic that 100 years later, the descendant of Philemon Thomas will be demanding reparations in the United States Congress.
You're clapping, CEO, but they actually went in on this guy on Twitter. They thought that his language was a little bit too generalized, saying African Americans and all blacks. I'm saying he wasn't specific enough, but I actually subscribe to what Mr. Chambers here was saying, and he would definitely have my vote. Um, are these the type of politicians we need to be voting into office?
Yeah, hands down. I mean, I would have preferred for him to be more specific and say like descendants of chattel slavery. Absolutely. I would have preferred for him to make it very clear. But to be honest, the term African American was created specifically for the descendants of Americans. For the descendants of American chattel slavery. Right? It didn't start being like used for other people, like for Africans who have immigrated here until the past 30 years or so, past the what was it, god dang, it's more than 30 years, past the 1964 Immigration Act, right? Like well after that is when it started being applied to individuals who were first generation and second generation. But that term African American was specific to us. So I get what he's talking about, and if you're listening to the context of what he's saying, he's talking about picking cotton. He is talking about redlining in America. He is talking about stuff that was specific to us. There are no Nigerians, there are no Ghanaians, there are no individuals who immigrated here post the 64 Immigration Act who were part of redlining, who were part of of being slaves and cotton picking. So to me, it makes perfect sense, and I have the ability to connect the lines, to connect the dots. So if folks can't, so be it, so be it. But at the seed of what he's talking about, like, yo, it's time for y'all to pay up. Like, let's be honest. Like, let's stop all of this. I'm with, I'm on board. And to be honest, everyone, all of them should be doing that. Right?
That's how
All of them should be doing it.
they all should be doing that. And like I said, I was with everything he was saying. And maybe because, like you said, he was talking about all the specific harms that have been done to, Native Black Americans. And he's from Louisiana, so he's definitely, Native Black. So I thought it was fine, but they really gave him a hard time on Twitter. Said he showed his hand and it had a biscuit in it.
Not the butter biscuits.
Not the butter biscuit. So that's going to do it for our show. But what we're going to leave you with, and Yamoya done dropped off. I was going to have him talk about a little bit about this PSA he put together. Senator Scott. Now, have you heard of the term woke supremacy?
I actually have not. Enlighten me, please.
Well, apparently woke supremacy is a problem. This black senator seems to think that it's as big as a problem as white supremacy, is what he says. It's because of the cancel culture. And, recently there was an article in the New York Post about how the cancel culture has gotten out of control, and they actually called on Generation X to save them. Now, I come from Generation X era, and I'm like, it's more like Generation Malcolm X, and I say let's cancel them all and hold them accountable. So
that's it. It's not about canceling them, it's about holding people accountable.
Exactly.
Right? So if I'm holding you accountable either for your racist tones, comments, either for your sexist behavior, for your misogynist, whatever it is, and you're being held accountable, it does mean you don't get to keep the space. You don't get to be safe in the places that you are existing in, right? So you get fired, you get demoted, you lose like access, whatever it is. I'm for it. Now, I'm usually for it for an extended period of time, depending on what the offense is. I do not believe, in the same way that I don't think when they throw our Black brothers, cousins, whoever's in jail, that once they get out, they still have to deal with that punishment. I don't think it should be forever, but there should absolutely be like an accountability, and there should be like atonement for your work. But you don't get to be a racist and just be like, oh yeah, I'm still gonna have my job. I'm still gonna hold a position. You don't get to be a sexist. You don't get to be a rapist. You don't get to be this disgusting behavior that Americans have just put up with for an extended period of time. You don't get to do that anymore. So I agree with cancel culture, because we have to wipe all of these folks and get them out of the way, set the precedent set the new boundaries, and then we can go from there.
Exactly. I mean, I agree. So with that one, we'll see if it catches on. But that's going to do it for our show this evening. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And glad to see you back on the scene. We're in this fight. We're in this fight. We're on that square. And, like I said, it's encouraging that there's a lot more talk about it, but we just need to help shape and drive the narrative, the official narrative, which is pure reparations.
That part.
All right.
All right, I think I'm back. I had no idea what happened. It's just I think we got the trolls just out, just hijacking our stuff.
The show has ended, Yamoya.
Is that what happened? Trolls out here?
We're victims of woke supremacy.